Let's find the absolute value of 1 minus 4i. I don't know why I did it this way where it's always a minus bi in a lot of these examples. Like, that was silly. But let's dive into this one here. So if I wanted to get an idea of the visual for this and get a little picture happening, I could absolutely do that. Do you see what I did there? No pun intended. That was really lame, but I liked it. This is my R or real axis right there. So, got my little paper a little messed up. And this is my, I guess I'll call it, I'll try this time, my I axis or my imaginary axis right over here. So I'm going 1 unit in the real direction and we are going 4 units in the imaginary direction. I always like 2s, 4s, 8s, and 16s for tick marks because I could decide where 1 is and then I could just cut them each in half and the spacing is really nice. And if I cut each of those in half, then it would really be negative 8i. Cut each of those in half, 16. And I just like that as a little tip for creating your tick marks. So we have that right over there and we want the absolute value. So we're just going to find this distance. Good habit is when you draw your triangle, you'll see why in the future, but when you draw your triangle in these types of situations, we really want to remember to always attach it to the horizontal axis. Don't attach it to the vertical axis if you could avoid it, because in trigonometry, this is a very important rule that we have to very, 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 very carefully follow, and we can never, go away from that. It's going to mess everything up. So good habit. You'll notice I do it like that every single time. So I hope you do the same. Okay. Now, just to set up my triangle separately, to do my distance over here. Again, it does not have to be totally to scale, but that length is 1 and this length over here is 4 and this length is question mark at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and do our 1 squared plus 4 squared equals question mark squared, or you could dive right in and put the square root right on top, maybe a little close that door behind it, and then we can just kind of go from here if that makes you happier. That's all good. As long as we don't forget in the future when we do Pythagorean theorem, when it's not specifically a distance and we take that root ourselves, to put that plus minus in front, right? So what do we got? Well, 1 squared is 1, not 2. Don't be weird. 4 squared is 16, not 8. Pay attention to what you're doing. Too many of you guys do things like that. So weird. Equals question mark. And 1 plus 16 is 17. And 17 is a prime number. So even though you might be like kind of tempted to be like, oh, how does this simplify? Well, it doesn't. Nothing we can do. That's fine. It's a little bit bigger than 4. Absolutely, there it is again. Makes sense with the picture that we have in on the side. And that's it. That's your final answer. So the absolute value of 1 minus 4i is radical or square root of 17. And that's the exact value. Please don't get a decimal and round. That is an approximation, not nearly as precise. We want to be as precise as possible always at this point in our math careers or math adventures, whatever you want to call it. So click on the next example that you need to see or the playlist, and I will see you in the next one. Adios.